Hello and welcome to our weekly IG Live. Today we are going to be talking to one of our members, Iryna Skibenko, and she is going to be joining us to talk about Smart Story. You can find them on Instagram as Smart Story Space, and she's going to be telling us, hello there, we're going to be talking all about how language learning can be fun with stories. Experience teaching English, and she has seen how stories can make language learning fun for kids. As we know, it can sometimes be a chore. And so, hello.
Hello.
It's so good to actually talk with you. We have emailed, I don't know how many times, and this is the first time we've actually gotten to talk. That's really wonderful.
Yes, I'm also so happy and so excited. We've been emailing and I've been writing some articles for the Multicultural Kids blog, maybe already for a year, right?
Yes, at least that long. I'm not sure if it's been a year or maybe two now, but for those who haven't checked them out, you should go to the link in our bio and look at the blog, because she has written a number of really wonderful articles, all basically focusing kind of different aspects of this, of what we're going to be talking about today, which is how you can use stories to make learning fun, especially language learning. And I know you focus particularly on teaching English. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to those that don't know you, and a little bit about Smart Story.
All right. So my name is Iryna Skibenko and I am Ukrainian, but I've traveled to a number of countries, maybe 20 or more, and I teach English, and in my stories, in my teaching, I combine these two passions, like teaching and traveling, and I get inspiration from my traveling to write stories and show children the world through my eyes.
Wonderful. And yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, because you also have the stories that you've written that people can read separately, and then you have the program that they can sign their kids up for to enhance their language learning. But maybe we can start off by talking just how did you get interested in teaching English, and I mean, traveling so widely and so on.
Well, at first, when I graduated from school, I actually didn't know what to choose, like which profession, as I think many young people. And I just joined my best friend who decided to be a teacher and a translator. So this way I got into the Faculty of Foreign Languages. But after I enjoyed studying languages, my second language is French. And but only after graduation, when I started working, I realized that it was my thing, because I like working with people, I like explaining, I like supporting, motivating them. So later I realized that yes, it's also like my passion. I like it a lot, and also it helped me with the communication when I was traveling. So it also like widened my mindset and horizon a lot. So I'm very glad that I chose this profession.
I love the story, though, that it was just kind of, a little bit of chance that you chose it to start with, because that was what your friend was doing, but then found out that it was a great fit. I think that's kind of happens to a lot of people, that you don't really know what you want to do, and then you try something out and find out that it really works. And then so you have all this experience, more than 15 years experience teaching English, and then from that experience, you decided to start Smart Story because you really noticed the effect that stories had on your students. Can you tell us more about that? What did you notice about when you were using stories in your lessons?
Well, I noticed that the children whom I was teaching, they were very engaged at the lesson when we were reading stories. Especially like one student, she loves animals a lot, and even if she didn't understand completely the story, the vocabulary, she would still be so motivated to read till the end, to look at the illustration, to know more about the characters, the animals. And I just saw that it works so much better for them. They are more engaged and more inspired than traditional books with exercises like grammar and vocabulary. And with stories, children remember this vocabulary in a natural way, the same as for the grammar, and they're just got involved into the story and absorb it. Especially when they relate to the main character, yeah, when they have something in common. This is also very important. So if this happens, if they relate, then I think your job as a teacher is done, because then they do everything, like they just read and they can read it. We can read it again and again, like if they like it. So you don't need to work hard to make them study.
Which I think is important, because a lot of parents and teachers, that can be hard with if you're teaching a second or third language, and it can become such a chore for the kids, and they really don't want to, and then it becomes kind of a struggle between, you know, the parents and the children, or the teachers and the children. But what you're saying is, with stories, it just happens naturally, and that they're motivated because they want to keep reading. They identify with that character. And I was smiling when you're talking about the animals, because that sounds just like my daughter. She loves anything to do with animals. And like you said, she'll even read things that are above her, you know, what her reading ability is, and she'll be drawn to those. It doesn't matter if there's a cat or a dog, she wants to read it, you know. And so can you tell us a little bit about, yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how Smart Story works? Because I know, so you have these stories, and like you say, you make sure there are animals, and they're adventure stories. So they're ones that really engage the children, but you also pair them with activities. And kind of tell us a little more about that.
So I have an adventure series. The characters are always the same. Maybe later I will add some more, but for now it's 11-year-old girl Nina and her dachshund Eve. So they travel to different countries and have adventures. Also, they travel with Nina's parents. And what we do with the children, first of all, we have like a pre-reading class, and during this class, we usually open Google Map, we look where they will travel, so they got to know more about this place, we look at the photos, and also learn some vocabulary, or learn, for example, about the dachshund breed, or watch videos, so they get more curious about the story. And then when we start reading, again, I don't give them the whole full text of the story. I give them chapters with some missing words or the wrong order of the paragraphs. So they have to work through the chapter before they come to the lesson and we read together. So again, it's increases their curiosity and engagement. And we have some simple activities after each chapter. So in this way, we go through the whole book. And or for example, for the spelling, there are activities for the spelling where they just fill in the missing letters. And also I include some workshops as some maybe art, or we also create chocolate dachshund, something fun and entertaining too. Or in the second story, Nina and Eve travel to Austria, to Schönbrunn Palace Park. So at that course, we create like a cardboard castle. So I combine everything.
Yeah, really that hands-on activities, engaging activities. I'm sure they love doing those. And that's one of the articles that I remember you wrote for the MKB website was about how you can combine stories and crafts to help kids learn about other cultures, because
Mhm.
that's something I haven't mentioned, but something that obviously you're doing in these stories. They're adventure stories, but they're traveling to different countries. And so that curiosity about other cultures, about travel, that's all kind of woven into your stories as you're teaching them. What age do you recommend this program for? What or how much how much language learning should they already have? How I guess what I'm saying is, how good should their English be? Like, what level should it be to
Mhm.
really
Mhm.
most that?
So if children learn English as a second language, so they need to have like A2 pre-intermediate, intermediate level. Um, yeah, like pre-intermediate, intermediate to go through the course, to read the story. But it's also like if they really like the idea, they can understand the story because the illustrations are very vivid. Like they will understand what's happening. And but also it suits for native speakers as well, uh, because I have some reviews, and then it can be for younger children. If they are native speakers, then they can be for. I got a review from a 4-year-old children, 5-year-old, so they read the story. And for those who learn English, and my program is approximately for 10, 11 years old.
Wonderful. And one of the things that I thought was really fascinating is that you're not only teaching through stories as they're learning stories, but you're also encouraging them to be storytellers. Why is that so important to get them telling their own stories?
Hmm. I think there are so many benefits for this. And once I wrote my stories for my students, and I was very excited and had, like a feeling of accomplishment. And I thought, why not to teach them also to write their own story? And it turned out to be a great idea because, first of all, they also get this feeling of accomplishment of creating something. Then it becomes a very engaging process, especially for writing, because children don't like writing a lot. But when the topic is about them, about what happened to them, or maybe I also tell them that they can describe or imagine their dream come true. So if they write about these topics, then again it becomes very inspiring for them. So they write and they are concentrated, engaged into this process. So they learn this cohesive writing, like to how to structure their thoughts. And at the classes, they are also, learn to focus, because when we teach speaking, they can just repeat, say, a teacher can correct them, they repeat, and then they forget. But when we teach writing and they need to write, they need to think first and then to write it down. So it's very good activity for teaching them to be focused, which is, I think, very important nowadays in this like fast world. And yeah, so they learn to tell their story, imaginary or real one. And it is very important because in adult life we also tell stories wherever we go, like at work. We need to present ourselves, yeah, to tell like about our education, our background. It's like everywhere. And if you learn to craft your story, it's one of the great skills, very useful.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't really thought about it in that way, that we're always telling stories about ourselves. And I think I know something that problem that I've run into teaching my children a second language is that they're passive learners. That they understand a lot of the language, but really expressing themselves is more of a challenge. So when you're talking about like getting them writing, getting them to tell their own story, I just can imagine how what a confidence boost that is for them, that they can do this. And so to have them feel more empowered to be able to express themselves in the language.
Yes, yes, yes. And it's like when we, at the first stage, when we brainstorm, I try to, get out of them their ideas, their dreams, their thoughts, so that we could find something really important that matters to them. And if you find this topic, then they will write it with pleasure and they will be engaged.
And what do you think it is that's so powerful about stories? Whether you're telling your own stories, you're listening to someone else's stories, you're reading. Why do you think it is that they are so engaging for someone learning?
I think that our brain loves stories because when we tell a story, like mostly our imagination works. Yeah, we imagine, and that's why I think stories influence us through this imagination, images, and this is the most powerful. And stories are very like emotional also. Yeah, they teach like empathy and emotional educating material is, I think it's very, very powerful because it like touches our soul, our heart. It's something that you can't like forget, or you can't simply just do a math task and put away. But I think that each child has to find their own genre and story. Maybe like my stories are not for all children, but it's just that they haven't found their own story and topic. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that maybe they just need to try a different kind of story because I think you're right. It really has the power to touch people on an emotional, very personal level. And speaking of that, where do you get the inspiration for your stories? You've written several books now. Did you always, I know we talked about how you didn't always plan to be a teacher. Did you ever, when you were younger, have an idea that you were going to be a writer?
No. No. Even maybe a few years ago. I started this project 2 years ago, or maybe 2.5. Before that, I didn't think about this. But like I said, that I like traveling, and I had a lot of trips, like, cycling trips, camping, like they were real adventures in different countries, like staying in the nature and communicating with local people, learning about their culture. And I have all these stories like that happened to me in real life. So I use my memories, but I adapt them for children. As like I created this character who is 11 years old, and maybe some elements I invent, but the main storyline, it's something that happened to me, and yeah, and I like to share it. The same as when I got back from my trips, I enjoyed a lot to tell my family about my trips, to share my photos, how everything went. So I remember that, yeah, I was like a storyteller, but now it became in a different mode. Like I brought it into my profession.
Right. Well, I love that you've done that and drawing on your own experience and and I think it's great because you're a story now you've become a storyteller yourself, then I'm sure that helps you help to teach the children how to become storytellers also.
Yes, yes, definitely. Because when we, at the young author experience, when I teach them to write their stories, I ask them questions, like very precise, detailed questions, so they know what to write. They don't feel, like I don't know what to write, nothing comes to my mind. So I direct them, and they know what to write, and at the end of the course they will understand this process and maybe write more.
Yeah, wouldn't that be that's wonderful what a wonderful gift to give them of not just that one particular story, but now that they can think of themselves as storytellers and maybe continue. But Iryna, thank you so much for joining us. And I should say, for those that don't know, we are actually about 12 and a half hours time difference, which I thought was so fun. So thank you for making this work, because I know this is pretty late for you. So we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. And I know you're traveling right now, so that you would take the time out of your schedule to talk with us. I think this is such a great topic, and we love everything that you've done for MKB. So thank you for all of that and for all that you're doing for your students. So, and anybody who's watching, this will be up, if you missed the beginning, this will be up on Instagram in a few minutes, and then later we'll have it on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.